we adopted once a very elderly dog. His name was Griffin. And Griffin would go on to live 4 more years, but the poor thing suffered off and on. When we first adopted him, he had to have 19 teeth extracted. He must have been in horrific pain for a long, long time. The veterinarian said he'd never seen anything like it. The gums were a mess and everything else, so that took a while. And then he became incontinent and blind and so forth, and I spent a lot of time with him. I stopped going to the office. I worked from the house. And I'll be honest with you, I've never said this before, I probably let it go on too long. I just couldn't do it. And he probably suffered a week more than he should have. I just didn't know when to do it. You know, it's just a very complicated matter at times. Anyway, I wanted to start off with this because I think this is a very positive thing. So let's take a look. Go.
I visit several different shelters every week, and I video and photograph dogs, and I hope that they are able to be seen and saved. Hi, my name is Rita. I am a professional photographer, and this is a story about shelter dogs for GeoBeats. My biggest inspiration was when I went to a rescue and adopted my first rescue dog. There were so many dogs, and as I drove away with the one dog that I had, I was trying to think of how I could help. I couldn't donate financially, but I did have my camera. And so I thought, what if I could go back and help these dogs with beautiful photos and just have people see them in a different light? Initially, I was afraid to go to the shelter. I was worried that my heart would be shattered daily, and I realized that it's their hearts that break every day. These animals are waiting for somebody to just take them out for a walk, or just give them a little bit of love or a treat, or make them feel better about missing their family or being alone at the shelter. I volunteer in a lot of really overcrowded Los Angeles shelters. They are open intake, which means that the more animals come in, the more animals have to go out. And if they can't help the dogs coming in, they have to start making choices. So sometimes it gets very intense when they're running out of time. I walk the kennels and I just start talking to the dogs, and I hang out with them at their kennels for a little while, and I film them. Often I think we don't deserve dogs because of that forgiving nature, that burst of wiggle and love and kindness that they just want to keep giving no matter what's happened to them. I do think about these dogs at night. I go to sleep thinking if Callie is going to be noticed, or if the video was bright enough to capture what she needed for somebody to see her and want her. I go back to the shelters to see how they're doing. Hi, girls! There was a pair of 2 large senior female dogs in the same kennel together. I walked up to the kennel, they stood up and wiggled and were happy to see me. After a few days, nobody came for them, so I went back and took them home and surprised my husband, who was actually really happy to meet them. I don't have a count on how many shelter dogs that I photographed to date, but I would say it's hundreds. Dog that I photographed is a large pit bull mastiff mix named Knuckles. At 114 pounds, he was quite scary looking. I went into his kennel with him and I took him out into the yard, and what a love. I mean, he just melted into me. The joy that I feel when I see these dogs walk out of the shelter, when I'm there to film their freedom walk, I really feel like they know. They know that they're getting out, and they're so grateful, and it's really quite heartwarming. I try and fight the stereotype of shelter dogs being defective. It's mostly just because of the situation that they were in, that they landed there. dogs have taught me to be patient and grateful and to worry about other people's hearts instead of my own.
If you haven't visited a rescue shelter, may I suggest you go ahead, or one of these adoption events that the rescue shelters try to hold in order to get the dogs adopted so they can get more of them. It'll warm your heart. It'll also break your heart to some extent, but at least in these rescue shelters, they will not be put down. So I would strongly encourage you to do that. They change your life for the better in 1,000 different ways. Maybe you have little kids and you say, well, I can't right now. That's the perfect time to do it. Maybe you say, I'm alone, I'm too old. That's the perfect time to do it. There is no wrong time to do it. And I'll tell you this, just to be honest with you, I think dogs are better than an awful lot of people on the face of the earth. You want to know why? They're not purposely evil. And a lot of people are. It's just the way it is. No, I believe in protecting people too. But this is different. These dogs cannot fend for themselves. Some of them have been horrifically abused, been ignored. And when I think of a dog, the definition for a dog to me is 2 words: pure joy.
For more, sign up for Levin TV.